Imagine you own a property like this, a 150 million peso asset sitting in the heart of the South. For most people, this is a forever home. It's where you raise your kids, host Sunday dinners, and eventually retire. But let's say you're traveling for 3 months, or maybe you've moved to a new development in Villar City, and this house is just sitting there. You check your phone and see that a boutique staycation villa in a neighboring village just booked a group of corporate executives for 45,000 pesos a night. You do the math. If you book that house for just 15 nights a month, you're looking at 675,000 pesos in monthly revenue. That's more than some CEOs make in a month, and it's coming from a house that was supposed to be an expense. Look, the dream is incredible. The short-term luxury market in Southern Metro Manila is exploding in 2026. We have a massive influx of digital nomads and high-level expats who are tired of the 100-square-meter boxes in BGC and want the South experience. But here's the thing, and this is where most people get themselves into legal hot water. Airbnb-ing a mansion in an exclusive village isn't like renting out a condo. It is a high-stakes game of the HOA versus your bank account. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the legal truth of short-term luxury rentals. I'm going to show you why your neighbors might be your biggest business threat, the exact math of the Airbnb premium, and how to spot a property that is actually legal to rent out before you spend a single peso on renovations. My name is Remy from Rem Club, and I educate the average Joe, real people, just like you, the intricacies of real estate in Southern Metro Manila. If you're someone who is looking to learn more about real estate, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Look, let's be real. In 2026, the game has changed. Interest rates are sitting at a manageable 4.5%, and the southward migration is no longer a trend, it's a reality. But with that growth comes more rules. If you're trying to build a short-term rental empire in areas like Ayala Alabang, BF Homes, or Portofino, you need to be smarter than the guy who just lists and prays. The psychology of the staycation boom. Here's what most people don't realize. Why do people pay 40,000 pesos or 50,000 pesos for one night in a house in the South when they could get a suite at the Pen? It's about controlled exclusivity. A hotel is a public space. You share the elevator, the pool, and the breakfast buffet with 500 other people. But a mansion in Alabang Hills? That is a private kingdom. In 2026, we are seeing a shift in psychological forces. After years of density living in the CBDs, the high net worth market is obsessed with privacy and space. They want to host a private 10-person dinner where the chef comes to them. They want a pool where they don't have to see a stranger's kids. They aren't paying for lodging. They are paying for the feeling of being a resident in a village they haven't bought into yet. This is where it gets really interesting. This aspirational lifestyle creates a massive price ceiling. In BF Homes Paranaque, for example, a high-end 4-bedroom home might rent for 150,000 pesos a month on a long-term lease. But that exact same house, when staged for short-term luxury, can command 25,000 pesos a night. Challenging the commercial assumption. Now, you might be thinking,
Remy, if I own the land, I can do whatever I want with it, right? It's my title.
look, that is the single most expensive assumption in Philippine real estate. When you buy into an exclusive village, you aren't just buying land. You are signing a contract with a homeowners association. The legal truth. Most deed of restrictions in villages like Ayala Alabang or Tahanan Village explicitly state that the property is for single-family residential use only. Here's the thing. The HOA legally views Airbnb as a commercial activity. They argue that having different people checking in and out every 3 days turns your house into a hotel, which violates the zoning of the village. In 2026, many HOAs in the South have upgraded their security protocols. They track guest lists at the gate. If they see a different van arriving every weekend with 15 people and 3 coolers of beer, you aren't getting a warning. You're getting fines and a lawsuit. I've seen owners in the South get fined 50,000 pesos per violation. If you have 4 bookings a month, that's your entire profit gone in penalties. The mathematics of the short-term premium. Let's look at the cold, hard math. Why is everyone so desperate to do this despite the legal risks? Because the ROI is, quite frankly, insane if you do it right. Let's use a 60 million peso resale house in a prime phase of BF Homes as our example. The long-term model. Purchase price, 60 million pesos. Monthly rent, 150,000 pesos. Annual gross, 1,800,000 pesos. Gross yield, 1,800,000 divided by 60 million times 100 equals 3%. The short-term luxury model. Nightly rate, 30,000 pesos. Occupancy, conservative 40%. 12 nights per month. Monthly revenue, 360,000 pesos. Annual gross, 4,320,000 pesos. Operating expenses, 40%, utilities, cleaning, platform fees, marketing, 1,728,000 pesos. Net annual income, 2,592,000 pesos. Net yield, 2,592,000 divided by 60 million times 100 equals 4.32%. Look at that. Your net yield on short-term is higher than your gross yield on long-term. And this is with a very conservative 40% occupancy. In 2026, high-spec villas in the South are hitting 65% occupancy because of the lack of luxury hotels in the Alabang-Cavite corridor. This is where it gets really interesting. You aren't just making cash flow, you are creating a business valuation. If you ever sell that house, you aren't just selling the dirt, you're selling a turnkey cash flow machine. In 2026, investors are paying a 15% premium for houses with a proven Airbnb track record. The legal loophole and the 3 tiers of villages. So how do you do it without getting sued? You have to understand that there are 3 tiers of villages in the South when it comes to short-term rentals. Tier 1, the Iron Gates. These villages are almost impossible for Airbnb. The HOA is powerful, the neighbors are influential, and the security is tight. If you try to run a high-volume Airbnb here, you will be shut down. The strategy. The corporate hybrid. You don't list on Airbnb, you work with relocation agencies to provide executive housing for 1 to 3 months. It's technically short-term, but it looks and feels like a residential lease to the HOA. Tier 2, the gray zones. These are larger, more porous villages. Because BF Homes has commercial areas inside it, the lines are blurred. The strategy. You must get a barangay business permit and a DTI accreditation. If you have the government's stamp of approval, the HOA has a much harder time stopping you legally. Tier 3, the emerging enclaves. These are newer villages where the HOA is still being formed or is managed by the developer. Developers often want people to experience the lifestyle, so they are more lenient. The strategy: be the early mover. Get in while the rules are still being written and establish your house as the standard for the neighborhood. Objection handling. But the neighbors will complain. Now, you might be thinking,
Remy, even if it's legal, my neighbors will hate me. They didn't pay 100 million pesos to live next to a hotel.
You're 100% right. And this is why most Airbnb hosts fail. They treat the neighbors like an obstacle. The pros treat the neighbors like stakeholders. The good neighbor strategy. The no-party tech. In 2026, we use noise monitoring sensors. If the decibel level stays above a certain point for more than 10 minutes, the guest gets an automated text, and you get an alert. The parking mandate. Most complaints aren't about noise. They're about parking. If your guests' 5 cars are blocking the neighbor's driveway, you're dead. You must only book groups that fit within your internal garage capacity. The neighbor's discount. This is a pro move. Tell your neighbors, hey, if you ever have family visiting and your house is full, they can stay at my place for 30% off. Suddenly, they aren't looking for a reason to complain. They're looking for a reason to keep you in business. Step by step, the short-term due diligence. Ready to hunt for a short-term luxury asset? Here is your 3-step checklist. Audit the deed of restrictions. Before you buy, ask the broker for the HOA bylaws. Specifically, look for the word lease. Does it define a minimum lease term? If it says minimum 6 months, your Airbnb dream is dead on arrival. The entrance test. Drive to the gate, tell the guard you're a guest for a specific house. If they ask for 5 IDs, a background check, and a signature from the owner, the friction is too high for short-term guests. You want a village with efficient but professional guest protocols. The amenity audit. A mansion is just a house. A luxury stay needs an edge. Look for lots that allow for a pool, an outdoor kitchen, or a home cinema. In 2026, staycationers are looking for things they don't have in their own homes. Real estate in Southern Metro Manila is no longer just about buying and holding. It's about active asset management. The short-term luxury market is the highest yield play in the South right now, but it's a minefield for the unprepared. Don't be the person who gets hit with a 1 million peso lawsuit because they didn't read the fine print. Be the person who builds a legal, professional, and high-spec sanctuary that the market is starving for. Stop looking at your house as a place to sleep. Start looking at it as a hospitality asset. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive. My name is Remy, and I'm here to make sure you're the one making the rules, not just following them. Master the legal truth, and I'll see you in the South. Go to our channel for full-length educational and data-driven videos on Southern Metro Manila real estate. Visit our website for a list of various curated properties in the South. Email us if you would like to buy, sell, or lease properties. Till then, we'll see you in the South.